Hey there guys, as promised I'm back with yet another travel trailer project video. This time I'm going to be building a porta potty cabinet inside the trailer, and this is going to mark the last major build that I will probably ever do inside this trailer because quite frankly I have no more room. So anyway, let me show you how I built it, and I don't even know what else to say. Let's get to the build. Alright, so I figured I'd start this video out a little bit differently than I did the other cabinet builds for the inside of the travel trailer. As you can see, I already have my base framework already assembled. I just used 2x2s and pocket holes, and essentially what I did is I just built a rectangle and a little square, and then I just allowed for some pop outs to accommodate the wheel well of the inside of the travel trailer, and I'll show you a couple clips of that right now. And the reason I'm starting out with the build like this is because I felt like those other videos I covered the pocket hole assembly pretty darn well, and I kind of glossed over some of the finishing aspects. So I just felt like this would be a good opportunity to focus on some of the finishing details of building a cabinet like this. So I think we'll get started, but real quick, just to catch you up, this is where the porta potty is going to go, and this will just be storage shelves with a little door on the front. Oh geez, you guys are gonna mistake me for being a politician. I just told you I wasn't gonna bore you with all the pocket hole joinery, and look at I'm doing about 10 seconds into the build portion of this. Actually, I just figured it was worth showing a little bit for those of you who might not have seen the other videos. Anyway, what I'm doing here is adding some mounts for the eventual shelves that will go into the storage side of the cabinet, and I'm just using pocket holes to mount these. So after I had the basic framework assembled, I then went about adding plywood around the cabinet and then face framing the front. I normally face frame with 3/4 inch material, but in this case I wanted a uniform look, so I'm just using a piece of 1/2 inch baltic birch plywood, and right here I'm just cutting the opening for the storage portion of the cabinet. After filling the nail and screw holes with wood filler, I then sanded everything down smooth to get ready for paint, and then set out cutting a little door that will allow for future access to the porta potty flush handle. It may look a little odd right here, but once you see the porta potty in there, I think it'll make sense. For both the countertop as well as the flip-up seat that'll be located above the porta potty, I'm using the exact same construction methods. I'm layering a 1/2 inch sheet of baltic birch plywood with a square framework of pine that I'm assembling with pocket hole screws. In a second here, you'll see me add quite a bit of glue and screws to secure them together, and the reason I make them like this is because it makes for a pretty strong and rigid countertop without having a bunch of excess material that I really don't need in a trailer like this. After letting the top sit overnight so the glue could cure, I then rounded off the corners and gave everything a final sanding. And then I finished it all out with a stain and a couple of coats of polyurethane. Next on the docket was to add some shelving to the storage portion of the cabinet, and for this I had to make way for the support structure of the inside of the cabinet. So basically what I did is just sandwich two pieces of plywood together and then notched out where the supports will go, and you'll see right here how they fit in the inside of the cabinet. And now comes the point where I'm going to try to add some class to a subject that really isn't very classy, the Porta Potty flush handle access door. But I figure with a little ingenuity and a lot of aluminum trim, you can make anything look a little bit better than it normally would. And so long as we're giving access to the porta potty flush handle, we might as well also give access to the business end of the porta potty. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm cutting one of the countertops I made earlier, and this is going to be serving as the flip up seat that will give access to the porta potty. The only difference is that I added an extra layer of pine on the bottom, and that is just to give a little bit more room for the top of the porta potty to protrude up past the cabinet to basically make a little more comfortable seat. So up until this point, the cabinet has been coming together pretty darn well. You just saw me install the little access door for the porta potty flush handle. But I have finally run into a little bit of a dilemma. I ended up cutting this countertop just a little too narrow, and I was planning on trimming all of the corners of the cabinet in aluminum, but you'll see when I put the aluminum here, it looks fine, but on this side, the aluminum sticks out a little bit. So I have gone ahead and gotten another piece of plywood and made another countertop. So once that dries, I will install that, and then I will get on to making a door for this. And oh yeah, I still have to install the hinges on that backside so this can flip up, and then I'll have some sort of latch that holds it up when it's in use. And then I think I might devise some sort of little toilet paper holder, but that's not definite as of yet. The aluminum trim is pretty much complete. I just need to install another couple of pieces along the bottom edge of the cabinet, but I won't do that until I actually put the cabinet inside the trailer, and those are actually just to cover up a little relief cut that I had to make in the flooring inside the trailer just to allow for expansion and contraction. And the next step will be to install the seat base right here. You can see I added a little piece of aluminum just to make that area flush with the aluminum trim on the edges. And because I go overboard on everything, I also installed some extra supports there, just because this was just one 2x2 back here that the entire seat was going to be resting on, and I felt like it could use a little bit more. And once that's done, I will build a door, and then after this is in the trailer, I will reinstall the top on top of there. For the main cabinet door, I made a simple rectangular frame with pocket holes, and then I used my router to add a 1/2 inch rabbet on the back side to accept some plywood. This is the exact same method I used to make all of the other cabinet doors in the trailer, but I will say this attempt was by far my worst. I was using some older material that was kind of warped, and I just wasn't very happy with the door. But the saving grace was that somehow I made the door a 1/2 inch too narrow, so I ended up making a whole new door. But I figured I would still include this footage just so you can see how I drilled the holes for the hidden hinges and did some of that. But you'll see here in a second, I'll talk about how I made the door a little bit too small. Oh man, this project is just turning out to be one mistake after the next. That door you just saw me make is the one sitting over there on the left, and I had to remake another one that is right next to it on the right. And that's because I made it just a little bit too narrow for this space, and I don't know where I went wrong. I thought I double measured, but anyway, and on top of that, I realized that the 1/2 inch plywood that I'm using as my face framing wasn't going to work with the hinges I had, so I cut a strip of that plywood out, and I've added a piece of 3/4 inch wood right there so that I can have a good base for the hinges to attach to. So anyway, once that is all dry, it's glued and screwed right now, I'll paint it. I'll paint this door, and then I will install them, and after that I should have this thing installed in the trailer. Well, she's finally done and ready for the open road. Now I'm just going to give you a quick tour of some of the things that I didn't cover during the build portion of this. Starting with the top of the cabinet, you'll notice I added a little backsplash, and that is there for no other reason than just to allow this aluminum trim a natural place to end. I also added a little hold open latch right there that holds the Porta Potty seat up so it doesn't come slamming down, and I'll show you a clip of that working right now. And then I also trimmed out the bottom in aluminum, and the reason for that is because I had to cut a little relief cut in the flooring to allow expansion of the flooring, and it just covers up that little gap, and I think it looks super cool. But the coolest thing that I didn't show you is this little toilet paper holder. That is there to allow the toilet paper to tuck back up in the cabinet and be pulled out for use. I don't know if I'm going to end up keeping it there just because it takes up a bit of room, but I thought it was kind of cool. Well guys, that's pretty much going to do it for this video. I'm not going to make this outro very long because I need to get this thing packed up, because probably by the time you see this I will be camping somewhere around 9,000 feet and out of this desert heat. So As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Give me a thumbs up if you like this. I hope it was a helpful or interesting video. And as always, I will see you on the next one.